Hi, this is Maria. Welcome to my craft room. Today we're making a masculine card using Whiskey Business stamp set. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and click the notification bell so that you are notified when I post a new video. Let's get started. So this is the card we're making. We are using Whiskey Business stamp set, which is this right here. And we're going to cut all the paper this time because I made this card all the way through and didn't start the recording. So we're going to watch me cut paper today. All right, so let me give you the cutting instructions really quick while I set up. Everything is listed in the blog. If you go to mariascraftroom.com, up here at the top, you will see cutting instructions and all of my other videos and where to shop and all of that lovely info. All right, so we're going to use, let me get back to my screen,
my lovely cutting board here. This is crumb cake, and we're going to cut this in half, so 5.5 to give me a card base. We're going to go to 4.25 and score. All right, so there's my card base. I need some early espresso. So this layer is going to be 3.5 by 4 3/4. The DSP we're using is from Day at the Farm. This was free with a $50 purchase. So beautiful paper. We're going to use the burlap side. This is, let me close this. This is 3.25 by 4.5. And that should layer, let me test here, layer beautifully, and it does. Okay, we need a piece of espresso at 3.25 by 3/4. So that is 3/4. 3.25. This is a scrap that we just cut. Scrap of white at 3 by 1/2 inch. So let's do 3 by 1/2 inch. We're going to go to the half mark. It's hard to hold these little bitties, so what I find is if I get my pokey tool here and hold it, then I can cut really easily. Okay, and that will layer inside of the little brown piece we just cut. Alright, that is all of the cutting.
Next we are going to get a piece of white and we're going to stamp my images. Now here, let's go bring back our sample here. So I'm going to be watercoloring with watercolor pencils. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to stamp in StazOn. Now StazOn you have to clean up right away. Well, let's go ahead and get that going. I'm going to ink up my decanter and stamp this one out. Press firmly. Beautiful. And then I'll do the same with my little cup. Beautiful. Let's close this up. And I'm going to stop for a second and clean my stamps. I'm just using a little rag here and my StazOn cleaner. It's important to clean these off because the StazOn won't do it immediately, but over time it has the potential to harm your stamps. But you need it when you're going to be watercoloring. So we will go ahead and do this. Beautiful. All right. And that's it for that. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and color. Now let me get this in frame so we can see. And let's go a little tighter. We're going to use watercolor pencils here and a blender pen. Okay, so we are using Pumpkin Pie, Cajun Craze, Daffodil Delight for the liquid, and Balmy Blue to make the decanter itself stand out a little bit more. So let's start with the fluids. I'm going to start with the lightest and work to the darkest. So wherever I think there should be a highlight, I'm going to place that first. You can color however you want. This is just the way I do it. So I'm putting my highlights in first, and then because I don't have the perfect shade of orange or color of whiskey, I'm going to go ahead and just lightly shade in all of this liquid in yellow. Very lightly, hint of color, because I'm going to actually blend in the color that I want. Okay. Next, we're going to use pumpkin pie. We're going to start at the edges and just blend just a little bit into the body of the liquid here. Mostly in the corners because this is going to be darker. We want it lighter in the middle. Just a light hand everywhere else. If you do both of the images at the same time, you'll end up with roughly the same coloring from image to image. I was practicing this, and if I would do one start to finish and then start the other piece, my colors didn't match. So if you go back and forth like this, you get similar pressure as you're coloring, and the color turns out very similar. The next color we're going to use is Cajun Craze. This is the darkest, so very lightly go over your areas that you want darker. Lightly, I'm going lightly over all of it. And then a little darker, I'm putting a little more pressure in the edges here. But I am going everywhere. More across the edges. And I'm intentionally leaving the yellow in certain spots so that we have bright spots and dark spots. All right, now the blender pen has two sides. So there's a little bit of blue. I want to color my liquid in first. So just if you've already used your pens, check your tips before you start. And the way to clean this off is to just wipe it. All right, so this is my liquid side. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start in the yellow, blending the yellow, and then I'll work the other colors around it because I want the yellow to stand out. I want the bright spots. Again, you color how you want to color. This is just the way I do it. Now I'm going to start mixing in around it. I'm still staying away from the corners for the most part. We'll come back to the corners in a minute. Go into the yellow a little so you don't lose the yellow, but you're blending in that darker color. Now I'm in the corners. And I'm going to go ahead and go into the yellow, dragging this darker color into the yellow just a little bit. Okay, and do the same on the other side. I'm avoiding the yellow to begin with. Just go into the yellow just a little bit. And that's a pretty good mix right there. I'm happy with that. I'll work this darker color into the yellow on this one as well. Very nice. All right, let's switch over and get the blue out. Now here we're just going to follow the guidelines with that the StazOn put down. We don't need a lot of color. This is a hint of blue. That's all we're after. And the same with the little cup. Just a little bit in the ice cube. I'm actually following the ink laid down by the StazOn. Okay, and we can go ahead and switch to the blue side and just lightly sweep over the whole area, but we want to keep the color concentrated right there on the black areas. Like I said, we don't want to have this whole thing solid blue. And I'm pulling the blue here from the corners just a little bit into the bottle. Now, once we get down here to the liquid, you don't want to mix these two because the orange will mix into the blue. So here, I'm going to go just across the blue because that is solid glass here. So I would expect to see more of it. And I'm not going to go in here because I don't want to mix that orange in the blue. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the glass. Just hints of color. We don't want to do too much over here. Being careful not to go into the orange at all. All right. And that is it for coloring. That looks very nice. Now this I'm going to fussy cut, so I may speed up the camera while I do that. That wasn't too bad. Didn't take very long. Okay. So now, because I colored, it's going to want to curl a little bit. So I'm going to just make sure it's nice and straight. Oh, looks pretty good. All right, so now let's go ahead and assemble this card. I scored this already, so I'm just going to fold it into my card base. And then we can go ahead and start the assembly. Now these two were cut so that I have 1/8 of an inch all the way across. So if you want to, you can put this down and have equal distance around all of your card. But I kind of like the skewed sideways look. That's just what I've chosen to do here. I'm going to put this down with liquid glue so that I can move it around a little bit if I need to, and I will need to because we're going to be at an angle. So let's right about there. Looks good. Okay, and then this will go across the front. I've got a little pen mark there. We're just going to hide it. We'll just move this paper up a little bit and cover that little mark. Okay. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Now, we've got to do some stamping here. I need soft suede, which is the color in here. And we're going to put your top shelf into this white strip. Okay. This will get layered into this little early espresso piece. Again, all the measurements are on the blog. linked below this video. This one is going to be across the top of this DSP. Now I've noticed a mistake already. I didn't put my ribbon down. So in the sample, I have the ribbon beneath this. Instead of the wraparound, I'm just going to just make a bow and leave really long edges on here. So let's make a bow. Okay. And then, that's a nice bow. And then we will cut it just to fit inside this card front. Beautiful. And on the other side, right around here. Let's see what that looks like. Make your little edges straight. Okay. And we'll glue this down. We're going to use a glue dot right on the nut for that bow. And we'll place that down. Perfect. That works really well. And the bottle we're going to tuck right in here on the side. And we'll use some dimensionals to put the cup on. Very nice. If you don't want this bow to move, you can tack that down. Just a tiny little bit of glue, you don't need a whole lot. Now on the inside, we're going to use early espresso. Excuse my dog. And we're going to go right across the top here. And the same early espresso. There we go. Now, I can see my glue. I put too much glue down. So we're going to hide that using some of these sequins. So I was going to put sequins down anyway, but now it'll be a little bit more strategically placed. We're going to put a sequin right over that little glue spot, and it is perfectly hidden now. These came from the mini catalog in one of those Valentine sets. Let's put another little one there, just to disguise it a little more, so it doesn't stand out quite so much. There we have it. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe if you like my videos, and click the notification bell so that you're notified when I post a new video. Also, go to mariascraftroom.com for the blog post that covers all of your measuring and all of the detailed instructions. Thanks for watching.